On this episode of Between the Dates,
there is that threat of rain. It happens every time we film an episode of Between the Dates.
can we find this old cemetery from a time gone by? Did we end up in a dungeon? Can this barbecue be any better? Did you know Captain Hook was buried in Ohio? And what about the dark side of the captain that we only discovered after visiting his grave? All this and more on this episode of Between the Dates. We've all seen grave markers and headstones, and normally they have two dates: birth and death, beginning and end. The events that occur between the dates tell the real story. Me, along with my team, bring you the stories, revelations, and history of what happens between the dates.
It is a foggy and wet morning here in Kentucky, almost perfect weather to go visit the grave of Captain Hook. I am not kidding. We are going to the grave of Captain Hook today. This Captain Hook has an interesting story and an interesting gravestone, and as with all of our episodes of Between the Dates, there is that threat of rain. It happens every time we film an episode of Between the Dates. Like I said, this should be called Between the Showers, but we're going to make our way to Ohio to find the grave of Captain Hook and some other cool visits along the way. I'm not kidding. Stick with us. Let's go together. There's a war memorial here in Greenup County, Kentucky. We're on our way to visit the grave of Captain Hook. And this honors those who perished and also those who served that are luckily still with us. Actually, my father-in-law's name is on one of these bricks over here for serving in Vietnam. So just wanted to show you this. It's a pretty neat little place. You can see here they've got it very well maintained, a very nice place. It's one of the nicer war memorials in the area. And Greenup County has just done a phenomenal job of honoring the veterans. See the Congressional Medal of Honor awarded to John W. Collier and Ernest E. West. And all these names, folks, are people who gave their lives from this small little area. And these bricks over here have the names of those that served. Some of those that served. My father-in-law's name is on one of these bricks. Now, I'm not going to give his name away, but because not everyone likes to broadcast their names online like I do. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for me, but yeah, I just like to come here. Every now and then I'll come here, honor him, pay respects to those that passed. You can see right here, this is a F-86 fighter jet. right off US 23 in Kentucky. So if you hear traffic, it's right there. So I want to talk to you a little bit about Captain Hook. Now, I know when you hear the name Captain Hook, you think of some big swashbuckling tale, and you know, his fame, notoriety I should say, it was related to water, but he wasn't a pirate out on the seas. He was a riverboat captain, and from what I can tell, a pretty good one. He even designed the locks and dam system that's going to be close to the river that the cemetery is on. And as far as I know, unless it's changed within the past few years, it's the only system that still was designed by hand and not, you know, like a mechanical system. So Captain Hook, his name was actually Isaac Newton Hook, which you see that a lot. I don't know how many times I've been out and seen someone with the name George Washington something, or you know, Benjamin Franklin, then a different surname. That's just what they did back then. And Captain Hook had a lot of notoriety. He spent most of his adult life along the river that we'll be seeing. So he has another interesting story. His grave marker is very unique in the way that it is shaped. He designed and built it himself. And a few things, he was scared to death of floods. Apparently he'd seen some flooding in his day, or heard about it at least. And he designed his marker with a perch on top that could hold a boat in case there was a flood. Well, guess what? Some years after his death, there was a flood and that boat floated off, so it's no longer there. He also used to joke and say that his wife would say that when he passed, she would be so happy that she would dance on his grave. So what did he do? He also designed it so his marker could not be stood on, therefore his wife couldn't dance on his grave. So we're going to make our way up to that cemetery, but I just want to take a little bit of time here to explain who Captain Hook was. Got some local notoriety to the place that we're going, and yeah, we'll go. Let's continue towards the cemetery and see where else we happen to stop. Before we get to the cemetery, you all have got to see this. This is such a cool little stop. This was the Morgan County Dungeon, and apparently this was found after they tore down the old jail here. So they didn't even know this existed for a long time. But you can see this was the old dungeon just built into the side of this hill. Just take a look in here. Look at this. How neat is this? I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm a pretty tall guy. These ceilings are short. It says prisoners convicted of rioting, larceny, and adultery in Morgan County between 1833 and 1839 were confined in a dungeon near the courthouse in McConnellsville. This stone vault, 11 feet high, 5 feet wide, and 12 feet long, was discovered in 1964 and is believed to have been used as the county dungeon. Very, very cool. And I know it says this stone vault 11 feet high. I don't know what part of it is. Maybe the outside from top. Yeah, from top to bottom maybe it is, but the actual inside where people would go, it may be 5 foot tall. It's not near that tall. Now in the same parking lot as the dungeon, we find this old schoolhouse. Rock Hollow School was originally built in 1877 in a wooded ravine 2 miles south of Ringgold, Union Township, and housed classes for 57 years. The first class was held November 1877. Grades 1 through 8 were taught in this one-room building. It says this building was disassembled and rebuilt in exact original condition, which is comforting because I was afraid that the school was right beside the dungeon. I didn't think that was a good idea. So let's go check it out. I'm sure it's locked. We'll give it's locked. We'll get a better look of it at the side here. I'm going to try to get on the inside as best as I can. I'm filming through the window, but how neat. Look at this. You just never know what you're going to find. And I'll show you the proximity here. It's close. And we're back at the dungeon. It's all history and it's all very well preserved. I'm really impressed. It's a beautiful little area here. Morgan County, Ohio. I'd never been here before. You can see right here, brick cemetery. There used to be an old church here somewhere, and it was part of this cemetery. Just take a look at this. All kinds of history in here. You can just see it with the age of the monuments and the stones. You can only imagine what these grounds look like at one time. If you remember me describing what the grave marker looked like, I am certain that that is it up in the distance. We'll get up here and find out for sure. We are at the grave, coming upon the grave of Isaac Newton Hook, riverboat captain, Captain Hook, and the river is just right over there. The Muskingum River, and I believe that's the river he worked on. But you can just see the history. And this cemetery is right, it's off the beaten path. I mean, it definitely is, but my goodness. I give a shout out to Angel for finding this place. We're about close to 3 hours from where I live, so a little bit of traveling to get to this one today. But wow, look at that. It says Pioneer, and you can see on the top, I'm certain that's where the little boat was. And if he was concerned about his wife dancing on his grave, this would have been a hard one to dance on. You can see the little boat, little canoe there. Let's walk around to this side of it. and you will see the marker right here. And also, if you notice, he also put on here what the flood line was, the record flood in 1898. Isaac Newton Hook, born 1819, died 1906. I love my posterity. It is the only everlasting life due to me. I doubt the truth of inspiration to man by or from any supreme power. I am opposed to the amalgamation abolition Congress that passed the 15th Amendment bill to the Constitution of the United States after the majority had voted no. There is no beginning of man, time, nor space, so there is no end. Yeah, he was eccentric. He definitely was. Isaac Newton Hook. There's the grave of Henry Hook. I'm pretty sure that Henry Hook is his father, if I'm remembering correctly. You can see here some of these old stones, and some of these are marked with American flags, so definitely some veterans in here. But wow, what a place. This is just a magnificent visit. Come back here so we can get a look at this at a distance. The grave of Captain Isaac Newton Hook. Still in Brick Cemetery. I wanted to come back a little bit further here to kind of show you all a different view of the cemetery. Under this tree and this tree cover, we've got a lot of graves here. Pretty neat, in memory of Robert and Jane Kennedy Henry, who came from Ireland in 1750. Their son and daughter-in-law, who came here from Maine and pioneered on this land 1814. Samuel H. and Tabitha Davis. And right over in here, can't hardly see it, but right through there is the Muskingum River, and that is where Isaac Newton Hook used to work. Well, I've always said on this channel, I learn a lot, even in cemetery visits, of places I've read about. I didn't know that Captain Hook held such beliefs against God, and such beliefs against equal rights. It just goes to show that you never know. I've said this a lot in my videos. You never know what you're going to find in a cemetery. You just don't. But what a crazy story. But the sun did come out today. Ended up being a beautiful day, a beautiful trip, beautiful day for a cemetery visit. We are just outside of Stockport, Ohio, so glad to be able to bring this to you. And hey, if you like videos like this whole series of Between the Dates has been very well received, and you just never know. As in this case with Captain Hook, we have the birth date, death date. It's what happened between those dates. And my goodness, what a story he had between the dates. Once again, from Stockport, Ohio, from the episode on Captain Hook of Between the Dates, I will see you again soon.
We've all seen grave markers and headstones, and normally they have two dates: birth and death, beginning and end. The events that occur between the dates tell the real story. Me, along with my team, bring you the stories, revelations, and history of what happens between the dates.